yeah, so you actually reviewed this movie before as well, right?
I have, yeah. I had reviewed it on my old channel, and I reviewed it on my current channel. I want to say last year sometime.
Okay, cool, cool.
It's one of my all-time favorites. So I mean, I rented this from a video store up in Green Bay. I want to say 1988, maybe. Actually,
Mhm.
no, probably earlier than that. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been in my life for 30 plus years.
Well, how many times have you seen it?
I've probably seen it a good 50 times. The movie was actually filmed about an hour from where I live.
Oh, wow. So you're near Wisconsin? That's where I think they said it was filmed.
Yep, yep. And I was such a big fan of this movie. I tracked down the star, Sammy Snyder's is his name. I tracked him down maybe 20 years ago. I talked to him on the phone. He's working, I think, in Toronto. He's like a dancer or something like that.
Yeah, I read that like during off hours he would go dancing, and then like he retired from making movies and became a instructor or something like that.
Yep, yep. He was very interested to talk to me. He doesn't get a whole lot of people talking to him, but I think he's got a little more now because on the Blu-ray he's got an interview with them. So, but yeah, at this time, this was like 2001 or something like that. He hadn't discussed anything with anybody in a long time.
This movie is kind of like the tale of two films because I'm sure you've read, and I think I saw in your interview, you're aware of the fact that the writer had one idea and the director had another. Now, what's interesting to me as a filmmaker myself is that sometimes a movie changes and it's easy to say, okay, well, the director ruined it, or whoever decided to make the changes, like the star took over and they ruined it. But sometimes like they have the insight that you don't, and the movie could be going off the rails. It could have been like a situation where this thing is going to be bad anyway, and let's kind of embrace it and just go with the camp and the over the top stuff because we don't have a second half, because there are a lot of movies that have really good setups, and then after the setup is over, they just don't know what to do. They don't know where to go after that great premise is there. So
Yeah.
having like spoken to him and watched this movie and had it so long, where do you stand with this particular movie, or that just those general thoughts?
Well, on this particular film, you are absolutely right. From what I recall, I think the original, this was a book, I think, called Teddy. As I recall, the author had, I mean, in the movie, Jamie has these trolologs that are sitting they're like trolls. They're basically in the ground. In the book, I believe these were all in his head. They were imaginary. They weren't real. But being the 80s and horror was really big at the time, they wanted to turn it into an actual monster movie. So that's what they did. Um, a totally different film from what the book was. Um, but I liked it. I mean, to me, it's just a very unique entry in the horror genre. Uh, Great character. I don't know. Yeah, I really enjoyed the film.
Mhm. Yeah, it's for me. It's kind of weird because I really enjoyed the setup. This, but it kind of almost like halfway through the movie, it turns into something else. Almost like God, the best movie I've ever seen do that, I think, is Full Metal Jacket.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jesus. Happy birthday to you.
That's the only movie that I think that's done it perfectly. And this kind of has, it kind of flips the switch halfway through. I'm trying to remember like where it really goes off the rails. I think it was once he didn't have any more meat to give to them, and then he talked to Teddy, and then he agreed with Teddy that he should kill people. I think at that point it was still pretty dark, but then once he started taking people to the hole, and
You crummy little rat! You give me my bank! My aunt will call the police on you!
I don't think so. Goodbye, pretty girl.
that's where it turns into this like psychological, um, sexual deviant, sociopathic preteen that's like terrorizing all these women he finds attractive, and being bullied by kids his own age, and it's like this really dark movie into like this campy, comedic creature horror film type thing. Would you agree? Like,
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. I think you pretty much said it all with that. Yeah.
it's a shame that he didn't continue acting because I thought he was really good in this. And I looked at his IMDb, like, who knows, like, when he shot his last few projects, but it looks like the last thing released was in 82 and this was released in 81. So it would
Yeah,
seem like he stopped right around this time.
he did a movie called The Last Chase with Lee Majors, which I actually watched about 2 weeks ago. Also, maybe that I think that was '82, maybe. And the other thing I remember him was in he was in a TV series on Showtime called Tom Sawyer or Tom and Huck or something like that. I remember watching that show at the time, and I liked it. It only ran for a few episodes, but yeah, other than that, he hasn't done much.
It looks like originally the kid was supposed to be a lot younger, which makes a lot of sense because I think he was 14 when he shot this. He was supposed to be 12, but they wanted the kid to be around 8 or 9 years old, which does make a lot of sense because as odd as he is, like at 14, like or 12 or whatever, like you start like becoming aware of what you're doing, and they treat him like he's innocent despite like all this crazy things he's doing.
My mother always reads to me before I go to sleep.
Jamie, what are you doing in here?
I was just watching you sleep. Will you wash my back? It's funny. I don't always think I'm dirty. Do you like washing me?
No matter what you want to say to me, you just don't come into the bathroom without knocking it.
What's the use? Sandy,
What?
before you go, will you leave me a picture of you? A photograph?
And I thought the nanny or housekeeper or whatever she was way too understanding to a lot of the things he did.
Well, she was very patient. You could say that for sure. Yeah. As I recall, I want to say that the thought was, and I don't know if this is in the book or not, or maybe I read this somewhere, that he was supposed to be autistic. Again, I don't know if he was actually autistic in the movie. They never used that term. In fact, that was a term that the masses didn't even really know back then until the movie Rain Man came out in the late '80s, introduced us to autism. But I think that's what he was supposed to be, autistic, and he had these images and tralogs in his head. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at his IMDb page now. Both The Last Chase and The Pit came out in 1981, and those are the last two movies he ever did.
It really seems like the beginning was kind of tacked on because it starts off with like one of the kills. And it really
Right.
seems like that's something that maybe came from a producer, like, hey, this thing is starting too slow. Let's get some action going on early, which is really sucks because one, they replay the exact same scene
Exactly. I
within
always
the
was curious
timeline.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
never made any sense to me. It literally just starts with that first kill, and then we see it again later. I don't get it. Don't get
yeah.
it.
I'm only assuming that I didn't read that anywhere. I'm assuming that that would be the reasoning because if you take that out, then the first half of the movie, there's no horror elements, no murders, no anything at all. And then when the murders start, it starts being comedic and things like that. So I'm assuming they probably thought it started off too slow. But I think that would have helped without that scene, not only because we see it later anyway, but also you get that build in that the movie is odd anyway, but then to not know what's coming at all and just be like, what am I watching, you know? And then the deaths start coming, I think would have been more interesting. So they have that tacked on scene at the beginning, and I also feel the scene at the end was tacked on as well, because once he releases the tralalogs or whatever they're called, he kind of disappears from the movie.
I'm sorry, but I can't feed you anymore. So, you're gonna have to take care of yourselves.
And it just becomes about the cops and this wild chase, and then you know, this militia going and killing them.
Shoot the damn things. Let's go. them!
And it feels like, uh-oh, we can't end our movie without like a scene with the lead character again. And he's just suddenly transported to grandparents or something like that.
Grandparents, yep.
Why would he leave his own parents? You know, they didn't explain any of that. I don't remember an explanation for any of that.
No, there was no explanation. It was just like, hi, grandma, hi, grandpa. And then the little girl was like, you're going to be living here for a while. And he's like, I guess so.
Look what I found.
No. They're Trollocs. They eat people.
Yes, I know.
I didn't mind the ending with the twist at the end. You could kind of see it coming once he saw that hole, that he's going to end up in that hole, isn't he? I remember the first time I saw it, I just knew that was going to happen. So, no, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. It's just, I guess there's more Trollocs out there.
Yeah, it seems like almost every horror movie, good or bad, has to have that twist at the end. From like Carrie with the hand popping out to recently The Invisible Man with like the twist at that end of that movie, without trying to spoil it. But it seems like every movie, every horror movie thinks they need to have that twist at the end. I thought it was pretty decent. It was predictable, but it was pretty decent. Now, what did you think of all the sexual stuff with him?
It's time to make any friends or to get established in school, and I have to pull up the roots. None of that, young man.
Well, there's no question Jamie's a little pervert. Like you said, he was cutting out those pictures from the library book. And I mean, the scene with the librarian where he pretended to kidnap her, was it her daughter, her niece, actually, I think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's preposterous. I think that was just thrown in to get a couple nude scenes in an 80s horror movie, which was required at the time, kind of.
What was more preposterous is the timing of the audio, because he had to know how she would react to everything he said, because he recorded it all. So it's like he'd have to know when she'd pause and like everything she'd do, because you know he's just playing the tape while he's taking the pictures. It was very, very over the top.
You have a niece named Abigail?
Yes. Has something happened?
She's been kidnapped, Miss Livingston, and no one will ever find her.
Oh, no.
But she'll be set free if you do exactly what I tell you to.
Yes. Yes. Anything. Please don't hurt her. What do you want me to do?
I want to see you, Miss Livingston. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm watching you now, Miss Livingston. You could call the police, but then, poor Abigail. And I'd much rather look at you than her. Don't try and fool me. I can see you in the window. What's more important? Being shy or getting Abigail back? That's right. That's a good Miss Livingston. Slowly.
All right, damn you. You want to see my body?
That poor woman, though. Like, what did she do? You know?
I don't know, but his plan worked. It worked out perfectly. But in the real world, I don't think that would ever happen in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And what did you think of the babysitter? I thought, one, she was incredibly hot. I think she does
I thought she was super cute. I remember when I was a kid, I had a crush on her. I thought she was adorable.
Yeah, she has one of those faces where you like, man, I must have seen her in a bunch of other stuff, but it seems like mainly what she's been doing is like voiceover stuff. And
Yeah, cartoon stuff, I think, right?
stuff. Yeah. It's a shame
Yeah.
because like she had a great look and she was comfortable with nudity. You'd think that that would get her more parts in at least other horror movies, if not like mainstream affair, maybe like a
Yeah, I don't know.
scream
Yeah,
queen type.
she's got a huge IMDb page, but yeah, like you said, there's a lot of cartoon work, but she's steadily working. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think her character was far too understanding when he did a lot of creepy things to her.
I spend most of my time. I'll get it. I said I'd get it.
That's very nice of you, Jamie, but well, women nowadays can do things for themselves.
That's very disturbing. But she just rolled with the punches. She washed his back in the shower. She did pretty much
well,
everything.
there's a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but that conversation when she's washing him in the bathtub, he says something to her about I don't know why my mom washes me so much or something like that. Like, what is that all about? She's like, I don't think I'm that dirty, but what's going on with him and his mother? I don't know,
I
but
don't
that's
think it
weird.
was I don't think it was like psycho where it was like a sexual thing with the mother. I think it was more like a metaphor. Like his mind is dirty. And that's what they were kind of trying to aim for with that, you know. So
That could be because I don't know if you remember, but there was a scene early on in the movie when I think it was the father was talking to the babysitter, letting him know that there was an incident once where Jamie was outside wearing a Superman cape, totally naked, like swinging from trees or something. An odd
yeah,
boy.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the old lady that he kills is the old lady that snitched him out about being naked on the swing with a kid.
Yes, yes, yes. The woman in the wheelchair.
I'm sorry about that, Miss Oliphant. But like my father says, we all have to go sometime.
What did you think of the boyfriend transition? Like it seemed like they were building up the Sandy, the babysitter. It seemed like they were building up that football player as her boyfriend. But then when
Alan,
he
yeah.
disappears, then she gets the older boyfriend. And it's like, do you think that was like a script continuity thing? Do you think it was like it's the late 70s, early 80s? Like, hey, you know, you date multiple people or
I guess she moved on pretty quickly. I mean, she seemed a little disturbed that he was missing after the second one fell in the
it was
hole
like a
there, but
day later.
Now go for a long one. Here it comes.
There it goes.
You never found out why Alan didn't come around anymore.
No, I tried. I called a lot of his friends, but nothing.
Now, don't let that little perv get to you.
Don't worry. I'm armed to the teeth. I've been reading up on this type of little monster. He won't scare me away.
the swinging early 80s, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought that was kind of odd. I was like, maybe something was deleted. Maybe I misread it. Maybe I didn't understand what was going on. But that was an odd transition for her. Now, for me, when the movie really takes off the rails, where it's just like it kind of loses me, was after her character dies, because I felt like she was kind of like the heart of the movie, and you'd expect her to maybe live at the end or have like a bigger role in what was going on.
Jamie?
How did you think they handled her getting killed off? Did you think that flowed with the story?
Yeah, I do. I think she had to go. To me, that's just something that I think we needed something to happen to Jamie bad, not necessarily killing him, but something hurting him. And obviously losing his one friend is definitely going to hurt him, and it did.
Yeah, in a normal movie, that makes perfect sense. But after she dies, he kind of disappears. He just says, all right, I'm going to let these guys go. And he disappears from the movie for like 20 minutes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You figure that would be like a trigger or a turning point for him to do something, which I guess he lets them go. That's just something he does. But we don't really see the ramifications or how that affects him in any way because he just disappears and then comes back
Yeah,
at the end.
it makes you wonder behind the scenes. Obviously, we know at the very end, mom and dad shipped him off to grandma and grandpa somewhere. but what triggered that? What happened? What was going on while the town was going crazy, killing these trolls? Did they know? I don't know. I don't know. They
Yeah.
don't dig that deep.
No. So I have a question for you since you mentioned you have a daughter. What do you think of this scenario? I'm assuming you're married as well?
I am married. Yeah, I have 2 daughters and 2 stepdaughters.
Okay. So wow, yeah, 4. Okay. So this question may apply to you. You may have an interesting answer for this one. I found this very odd, but I can't relate because I'm not married and I don't have kids. But the director's wife, I read, refused to let him be present for any of the nude scenes,
Yep.
except the one that had his daughter in it.
Yeah. I don't have any answer. That makes no sense. I mean, first of all, if you're a director and you're filming a movie, you have a job to do, whether there's boobs there or not. You got to do your job. Um, I don't know. If my wife was a director and there was naked men, I'd say do whatever you got to do. It seems creepy to me that you can only film your daughter topless. That's creepy. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
his
I
adult
can't
daughter.
imagine. Yes, I can't imagine just having your daughter topless in a movie anyway. That's just uncomfortable. If she's gonna do a nuded scene for somebody else, fine. But in my movie, that just seems weird. But especially if that's the only one mom lets you do.
You
I don't
would
know.
think it would be the opposite.
Yep.
Like, I don't want you there with our daughter. If you're gonna make her do that scene, I don't want you there. That's a little too creepy. You can
Yep.
be there with the other girl. I would assume it would be the other way around. What the hell do I
I
know?
agree 100%. Yep.
Almost all of this was shot in Wisconsin, except the inside of the pit, which was shot in Canada, but
Yeah.
Toronto. But I guess it's not that far. It's like a 10-hour or so.
It's about 10 hours. Yeah. Yeah. I've never been to Toronto, but yeah, I think it's about 10-hour drive. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was reading like that was because they didn't like the way the monsters look. And I guess if you look at the movie, you don't really see, once they fall into the pit, it's not like you see them getting eaten. So I guess it's plausible like they just shot completely separate, the actors and the inside of the pit. You
Yeah, I
just
think so.
see, I think you see them run into it once, and that's about it. So I think we covered a lot with the movie. Is there anything that, like, stories you heard from Sammy, or anything you think we didn't cover, that any tidbits about the film?
No, like I said, that one conversation was almost 20 years ago now, and I know he said that he enjoyed his time here in Wisconsin. It was shot in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, which is like I said, about maybe an hour from where I am right now. Um, and I do know, well, I actually went to Beaver Dam probably around 2001. My then fiance and I, actually no, it was probably like 1998. We went looking for sites, but we got there late at night, and we stopped somewhere. And wherever we were, the guy said, "All the sites you see in the movie are gone now. The library's gone. This is gone." So nowadays, I could probably track some of those houses down and stuff just out of curiosity's sake, but yeah, I'm sorry to answer your original question. Only thing I remember is that he enjoyed making the movie. He enjoyed spending his time here.
Mhm. And you said you don't remember why he said he left acting, right?
No, I don't. I don't know if that was addressed or not, but yeah, no, I don't recall.
Mhm. Okay, interesting, interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess my overall thoughts in this movie is I liked it, but I think for most people, they have the feeling that I do after you watch it is, I don't know how I feel about this movie. I felt that way when I first saw it. I'm like, do I like this or do I don't like it? Just because it's so odd. And I watched it a second time today, before we did this, and I had the same feeling at the end of it. It's like, I don't know if I like this or not. Like I said, I love the first half. The second half goes off the rails. The twist at the end I like, but overall, I definitely say I'd recommend anyone who hasn't seen this movie to check it out. And I'm
I
assuming.
I I couldn't. I love this movie. To me, it's just a very quirky entry in the horror genre. I mean, I love horror movies. That's my genre of choice. This one is just so odd, and it's got. I love his character. He's and for the first half of the movie, we hear him talking in Teddy's voice. Teddy's talking to him, so it's just obviously in his head.
She's not like the others, Teddy. She's pretty. Really pretty. she wants to be nice. But she's got a boyfriend. Only, he isn't her real boyfriend. He's just a friend. That's all. Just a friend.
Well then, she's just what we've been waiting for, isn't she?
Yeah. Maybe she is.
But then there's that the first odd scene where we see, I think the babysitter left the room, and then the teddy bear's head moves, and we're like, what is this all about? But also the fact that the teddy bear is just as pervy as Jamie is. You know, when they take the pictures of that woman, he says, "I'm gonna look at these a lot." You
That
know?
was Teddy's voice. That was,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
And I find the comedy in this movie great. There's not a lot of it, but the scenes that are there are so funny. Like just when he's that woman in the wheelchair and some of the dialogue, and it's just I've repeated some of these lines of dialogue over the years many times just because I find it so entertaining. So yeah, I love this movie. I love it a lot. I just dig it.
So the second half switch, that didn't bother you.
No,
Yeah.
not to me. I mean, it was definitely a switch, but again, I like the characters. I like the characters a lot, so they work with me.
But yeah, I guess we both recommend it. I guess you a little bit more highly than me. I think the only part where we differ is that I didn't like the humor as much as you did, but I still overall like the movie.
Are you Freddie Phelps?
Yeah? Who are you?
I'm Jamie. I was wondering if I could join your club and...
Well, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Well, if it isn't clumsy stupid.